Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. How are you all doing today on this magnificent Monday? I am Yana Kasperczak, and I'm your spiritual awakening core energy coach, and it is my soul's purpose to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in and live a life and build a life and a business that you are not only proud of but are excited to wake up to every single day, including on days where you feel low on energy, as I do today. And one of the first things I want to mention to each and every one of you, and it's also in a way an invitation as well, that even though we're not going to be talking about the female cycle, unless these cards are going to tell us the magic about the female cycle. But when it comes to the female cycle, as today for me is day one, understanding our cycles and understanding our flows of the month, that there are going to be days when we are meant to be low energy, and being not only accepting of it, but nice and kind and gentle with yourself, and allowing yourself to be without forcing yourself to be doing and doing and doing more, because that means that there's going to be throughout our cycle, there's going to be days and times I'm so tired as well, that my dreams were just so intense last night that I didn't get much sleep either. So bear with me as I move through this day and the cycle at my own pace, not rushing, not trying to give you more energy than I have, because I need to conserve it for myself. And I've spent enough time doing that. Right now it is the time for me to be more, to spend time with myself more. And the body communicates with us, because body is nature, it's part of nature, and communicates with us in ways that only we can interpret ourselves. And I knew that my time was coming for of the cycle was coming, and I'm just taking it easier. Why? Because I'm meant to, it's a celebration of myself basically, and listening to myself instead of just chasing something that we're all being told this is what it needs to be, this is how we need to be. And this whole hustle culture, it's not healthy. So reminder for each and every one of you ladies that it's important to not only understand your cycles, but to celebrate them and to allow them to be without force. And we're actually sending out an email, I believe it will be today or tomorrow, talking about these cycles, to help you understand much more about where you are, and if you're more in your feminine or in your masculine, understanding the nature of ourselves and our cycles as well, as we're talking about earth and nature. And if you're not on the email list, feel free to send me your email and I can add you to that list. But other than that, let's get this show on the road. My thumbs actually have been hurting me. I've been doing a lot of work lately. Fog. I've been doing a lot of work with my hands lately, so my thumbs have been a little sore, needless to say. And more of the reason to listen to myself and my body and do a little bit less physically and do more just spiritually, so to speak, sitting with myself. Okay, so fog, veiled. I haven't used this deck for a while, but if I remember correctly, right here, alphabetical. Didn't take very long to find it. Let me get my video on my screen here as well so I can see, and I can see the comments because I don't see the comments on. Come on. Oh yeah, there we go. Takes a minute. Yeah, because I can see the comments here. Good morning, Laura. How are you doing, beautiful? Okay, so fog, veiled. Let's go. Fog is simply a low cloud, a blanket of water crystals that hasn't gained the density of the raindrops. The thicker it is, the more it shrouds us in its damp and billowy arms. I love fog. It just there's something so mystical about fog, and something so soothing and relaxing, and calming. I think that's what it is. And for me, it just makes me think of luscious green forests that are covered in moss. And I would love to not only visit a place like that, but live in a place like that where it's just moist and damp and earthy and mossy. One of these days, I'm gonna make this room very forest-like. Whatever greenery you see is not enough yet. I need more. It can also be so thick that it makes it nearly impossible to see directly in front of us, which is a reminder as well that sometimes when we are in a fog, we can't see where we are clearly or where we're going clearly. And this is where I'll bring in the female cycle, that we're going to have days where we don't see things clearly because we ourselves are in that fog. We're meant to be in that fog, so we can feel a little disoriented, a little shaken up, a little anointed. So we can spend a little bit more time clarifying what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're going, why we're going there, to pause and answer all the questions that we have that are spiraling perhaps in our heads. So the fog is necessary. It is necessary for us to slow down, to be perhaps a little bit more cautious with our step of where we're going, and not always feel like we have to run, to remind ourselves that we are living in the masculine world. And even though we're living in the masculine world, does not mean that we need to always be in the masculine. And the same thing goes for men as well, that a man does not always need to be in his masculine, that he's allowed to be in his feminine. So when he's going through a hard time, it's important for him to embrace what he's going through, to allow that process to naturally take shape, to go through those waves of masculine and feminine that a man is not always supposed to be doing and doing and doing and doing, that he also needs to have that time to just be, whatever that means to him. And we women, this is one of the things that I have noticed in relationships, and why quite a few relationships tend to fail, is that when a man is in his feminine, a woman struggles to, and that's not all women, of course, right? But a woman struggles to allow him to be there because the expectation is you're supposed to be tough and strong, and doesn't allow him. Or when a woman is too much in her masculine, does not allow the man to be in the masculine, that there is this balance, right? When a man is in his feminine, you could step into the masculine, but at the same time, it is dependent on what is the need right now. Because if he's in his feminine, you might also be in the feminine and help him through his feminine. Because this is where a masculine might not do well. Or maybe this is where you step in and you do a little bit more and allow your man to heal. And at the same time, what I'm talking about, the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine, this is within yourself as well. Recognizing that when you are in your feminine and the masculine is coming through, and the masculine can come through in ways such as, especially when you're building your business, in my case, where there's so much that needs to get done in the business, in the house, inside the house, we're renovating. Outside the house, there's the season, right, to start getting things ready. And then I am in my feminine, where I honestly don't want to do anything, where even my body is, my thumbs, like I said, they're hurting. So I can't really do very much with my hands. Even writing, I can't do much of it. So instead of doing that, I'm sitting with myself and listening and tuning in and allowing that process, taking it slower, taking it steadier, without allowing that masculine to take over. Because how it can come through is then I start to feel bad. I start to punish myself. I start to beat myself up with all the shoulds, the coulds, the musts, the have tos. And instead, I allow the feminine to be in the feminine, where I'm just taking it easier, slower, no rush, going at the pace that I am feeling comfortable with, and at the same time trusting that all the things that are important for me to get done today are going to get done today. That there's no need for me to be busy every waking moment of the day, or to be productive every moment of waking day. And that there's another pressure that I have on me, that I put on myself, of course. So every other week, I host the Sacred Circle. So tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting the Sacred Circle. And then every other week, Bethany hosts the Sacred Circle. The pressure I put on myself, and for many different reasons, is I want to have different meditations that I take women through during the Sacred Circle. Number one, doing something different every time I host. Even if it's the same meditation, it still feels different. And many of you can attest to that have attended. And number two, the reason for that is because I want to have, why it took me off. Hopefully it didn't completely kick me off. I don't know. I don't know what happened, if it completely froze me or not. But anyways, yeah, somebody was trying to sign into my son's email account in Toronto, and I know he's not in Toronto, so I'm not letting them sign in. Even though it could be my son, but I know he's not in Toronto, so if GPS could be off. Where were we? Sometimes it's just a reminder to, okay, enough, let's move on. If it comes back, it comes back. Okay. During those times, silence makes its own sound as we pause and allow ourselves to be enveloped in the shroud of impenetrable density. We may even feel as if we can do nothing but be still and wait. But be still and await what is to be revealed, which means trusting the process, trusting that whatever is meant to be is going to be, that you don't need to be running around, you don't need to be high energy all the time. That, as I said, today I'm low energy and I'm okay with it. I'm just going with the flow. I'm not trying to be the high energy that I typically am, because this is where I am at today, and that's okay. And it's also showing you and allowing you to embrace you as you are today. that you don't need to put on a show for anyone. You just need to be you. And live videos for some people are a show. For me, it's the purest and the true expression of myself, of how I am and who I am today. No show here, just me. Yet, even within the thickest fog, we can be assured that it will eventually burn off as the sun's rays infiltrate the veil. Once they do so, we can anticipate how the light and warmth will bring us welcome relief from the cold. That sometimes we might feel cold when we're sitting in the darkness as well. As the sun continues to disperse the fog, our surroundings become illuminated, and we have the opportunity to continue onward, which means that the way we can move forward. It's also a reminder to just sit and be still and not fog, and take in the awe, take in this moment, because too often, this is where the masculine and feminine comes in. Too often we are in the masculine because we're also living in the masculine world where you just need to go from point A to point Z really quickly. But then at the end of our life, we have forgotten to slow down and take in the scenery. We had forgotten to pause. We had forgotten to stop and smell the flowers. Because we're go, do this, and this, and that. And this must be done. This has to be done. This should be done. This could be done. And we don't feel like ourselves. Because when we're always going, we don't allow much time for self-reflection. And self-reflection is actually very powerful to help us to grow and to help us even achieve more. You are enmeshed in confusion and uncertainty and are unsure if it will ever clear up. Overwhelmed, burnt out, tired, exhausted, feeling unclear. If this is where you are, I'll take an opportunity and invite you to a free 15-minute clarity call with me, where I can help you to feel more clear and help you to see what is going to be the next step for you. This is not the best time to make decisions, which means that you don't have to decide right now. Whatever it is that you feel like the decision needs to be made, maybe it doesn't need to be made right now. It will be made eventually, but right now might not be the actual time or the moment. Give yourself a moment to breathe, a moment to take in what's around you and to just be, and a decision will perhaps not even feel like a decision because it will just make itself present and known, particularly any major ones. Knowing that this foggy veil will eventually dissolve. Know that this foggy veil will eventually dissolve. And we're all living in the knowing, and that's why that knowing came through instead of no. Although there may be ways you are unconsciously contributing to this state, the greater truth is that this is simply a cycle you are moving through. Cycle of life, cycle of the season. It's a cycle. And like all things, this too shall pass. This is not permanent. This is temporary. How you're feeling, what you're feeling is temporary. I know for me it's temporary. And I've learned to appreciate it, where I feel joyful, I feel happy that I'm feeling low energy, and I don't beat myself up for it. I don't add more to my plate. I actually take things off my plate and I do less on days like today. And the email that we have going out today will be so helpful to each and every one of you if you are going through these cycles and you want to understand more. And as a woman, you're going through the cycles and you want to understand more of your own cycle, and perhaps not schedule certain meetings, certain things, depending on where you are on your cycle, and especially if your cycle is consistent and is the same every single month within a day or two here or there, give or take, right? That you're not going to be doing some big massive presentation on days like today. For me, I wouldn't be. A live video is not a massive presentation for me, but I wouldn't be hosting a workshop on a day like today. I wouldn't be starting a course or group coaching through a course on a day like today. I wouldn't be scheduling any kind of, what do I call them? Studio time where I would be recording for the course on days like today or weeks like this week, because I know that it's just gonna add unnecessary pressure and stress where I am meant to be and not do. Allow yourself to feel confused. In fact, decide to be confused. Feeling confused is actually what's going to allow you to have more clarity. Feeling confused is a perfectly normal part of human existence. It is an emotion. It is a feeling that we're all meant to experience. And if we don't today, we will another day. It's part of human experience. So embracing all that makes us human sooner rather than later will make life much easier. No matter what attempts you make right now to make things happen or move in any specific direction out of impatience or frustration, you risk only creating more confusion and uncertainty. So be still and patient. Wait for that first glimmer of awareness to lift the veil so that you can see the choices before you more clearly and can then choose to align yourself with the will of the Spirit. In other words, trust the process. You don't need to figure everything out right now. The clarity will come, as it always does. Think back to the last time you were feeling low energy, or you were feeling uncertainty, or you were feeling unclear. How did that work out for you in the end? Reflect on how things worked out in the past for you. And then as we're wrapping up, I see that there are a couple of comments. Laura said magical. I agree. She was talking about the fog, how the fog is magical. I love to be in the woods when it's green and misty. I used to imagine myself in another time and place when I was a child. Ooh, I did too. And I actually still do. One of the things that I've helped some of the women at the Sacred Circle do is create that vision for themselves of a sacred or a safe place that they go to. And it came from my own experience of doing meditations, and I would always find myself in different places, checking out different places, different environments, so I can feel them, I can see them, I can sense them. And until I created a space, a visual space that is just so magical and so beautiful, that it's hard to describe of what it makes me feel, but if I had to put one word to it, it would be safe. But it's just hard to describe with one word. It would make me feel safe secure and inspired and motivated and whole and magical. Just think of all of the goodness of the world. That's what that space would do for me. And that space is, honestly, I've never been to anything like that in real life, and it's that one day I might. But it's just, think of, you know how there's these concrete tubes, really big tubes that are being used for water to transport from one place to another. So just think of a really massive big concrete tube that is about 15 feet high and wide all around, and yet at moments it feels small. And through it, through the top and through some of the sides, there are some cracks and some holes where the sun comes through, but the whole inside of it is completely covered in moss and some greenery, some bushes and some plants and grass, but mostly it is moss, and you just see the sun beaming through the cracks and the holes that just illuminates the whole entire tube. And it's really, really long. And I would just either stand there or lay there or walk and just feeling the moss underneath my feet, bare feet, and smelling the earth and the soil. And once in a while I would see the plant, the flowers, different colors of the flowers, depending on the mood. And then depending on the colors that I see, they hold different meanings spiritually of what it means. And I get a lot of messages from women helping them interpret certain experiences that they've had. And honestly, the best thing I would recommend, because there will come a day and time where I simply won't have the time or the energy to do that, to continue interpreting. But if that is you, or you've been wanting to ask me, what I would recommend, honestly, I'd recommend what I do is, and how I started, Googling. I would go to Google and ask certain meanings of, initially it was numbers, and then there was colors, certain colors that I would see, whether in my visualizations or just in my space, or honestly just whatever it is that I'm feeling or thinking or seeing. I would go and I ask Google, and it's like a rabbit hole, and go and I discover to see what it means, and then I can easily interpret things much easier and connect it to what I'm going through in this stage of my life, and what that means not only for me but for my external experiences as well. So I'll give you this as an example, okay? This one is a humorous one. And at the same time it's inappropriate, so if you have kids they might also get this, so send them away. So this was a time where I started to go through certain as women, we go through different cycles, right? The cycles when we are evolving sexually, and cycles when we are just going within and not evolving sexually, right? So this one here, you see it? You see the humor in this one? So nature was clearly telling me something, and then this coming out of the ass, that some people, okay, who are talking out of their ass, and then there's the third leg growing in here, right? It's kind of like a metaphor that men have a third leg, and yet there's a leg growing, and it's not fully broken, but it's damaged. And this was actually growing time in our relationship for different many different ways, many different things. And honestly, I don't go into a lot of personal things, and I will keep them that way. But I'm bringing this to share with you all that look around in nature. Look how it's communicating with you. Look at how it is reminding you of where you are, what you're trying to do, and where you are going as well. That it is always communicating with us. It is one of the most powerful communicators. And another one, and sometimes it comes in interesting ways, and it's interesting how certain things here, they came to me pretty much the same time, within like weeks of differences. So I bought some crystals, used crystals from a lady, and I didn't really look at all the pictures. I just bought them because they were good priced, and I really liked the colors. But there's one of them that had an interesting shape, which, like I said, I didn't see that in the picture, but I bought it. And okay, let me put it on my hand so you can see it more clearly of what this interesting shape is. Okay, so interestingly enough, that piece of wood came first. This was in the crystals that came after. And then this one, honestly, I don't even remember. I've added the leg to it so that way it stands more straight, and I have it, it has like a little cradle on it. And this one, honestly, I don't. Oh, I do remember. I was cutting wood and cleaning up tree branches in the front and in the back, and this was one of the pieces of wood that I cut, and I thought, oh wow, this is really interesting, and I kept it so it just stands like this. And I have that laying in here, and then this was a piece of wax, as you know, as you can see, a little bit of growth there as well. So ladies, this one is for you. However it makes sense. It does make sense to me, but I am feeling really tired and drained right now. Having gone through a lot this weekend, continuing to renovate and meal prepping, and we did a really intense workout yesterday that even my neck is sore. That's why I'm like slowly turning my neck, the back, everything. I can feel all the muscles, and this is actually one of my most preferred ways to wake up feeling sore, because we do have an option. If we wake up feeling sore because of exercise, or we wake up feeling sore because of lack of maintenance on our physical body, on our meat suits. So I would much rather prefer waking up physically sore from the exercise, because that is also by choice. And then Laura said, when I was really young, I would shrink away from a man that showed me their vulnerability. I've grown a lot since then, thankfully. We also, some of us were not taught how to accept a man being vulnerable, because men were taught that it's not okay to be vulnerable, it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to show any kind of sign of weakness. And we women heard that, and we learned that it's not okay for a man to be a certain way, but yet it's okay for a woman. But we're both humans. We both have access to all of these feelings and emotions, and we're meant to experience them all. So why is it okay for one gender but not okay for the other? And I too was actually raised in that same way, where it's like, if a man is crying, I wouldn't know what to do. But I've learned how I can be there for my man and support him. Does not mean he cries, but I give him the space to be able to. normalizing that for him. And then also for the young man in the house, for my son, I've allowed him to cry because he's able to go through all of those feelings and emotions and work through them, understand them, and become stronger on the other side, where he himself has learned what's worth crying and what's not without me telling him. But if I told him, no, that's not okay, then why am I deciding for him? He needs to go through his own fog. He needs to experience his own fog, his own doubts, his own, as Rebecca says, hopeful and possibilities. He needs to go through all of those to understand what hope is, to feel that hope and feel hopeful and see the possibilities. And in order to see the possibilities, you need to feel like it's impossible. And I believe it will make for a stronger man. And only time will show if that is true, because we don't have all the answers as parents. As much as we wish we did, we don't have all the answers as parents. We try and we do our best. But those of us that feel like we're failing our kids or we're not doing enough, that means we're doing a lot. And that feeling of inadequacy, it's normal. It is actually a very powerful driver to do more and more and more, to be better. That means that we will continue to better ourselves and in return help our offsprings as well. So that is all that I have for you beautiful ladies for today. Hopefully this has helped you to embrace the fog and at the same time to work through that fog wherever you are. To judge, but not judge harshly. Judging is also a way to help us see and understand more clearly. It's how we're able to translate things. But there's positive judgments and there's negative judgments. And only you are the one that's in control. And if you don't want to feel bad or feel drained, then check your think locker. Okay? What's going on in there? And if you're not feeling clear, take your hands to a pen and paper and write those things down. Write them all down. Laura says, vulnerable is not weak. It takes courage to be vulnerable. Oh, 1,000%. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery to be vulnerable, to be open, to be authentic. For men and women. We women are also taught to be strong, to do all, to take on, to be a superhuman. But there's going to be days when we're simply, even a superhero has days off, believe it or not, or moments when they're off. And then they regain themselves. Rebecca says, meet myself where I am and go from there. Always be on my side. Yeah, that's a beautiful reminder. Meet yourself where you are and go from there. Don't rush the process. Because I'm watching a show called Best in Blow, I think. It's about glass. And it's like thinking of ourselves like glass. That when we are trying to rush the process, trying to do more, we're fragile. We're like glass. And when we're blowing things out of proportion, when we are forcing ourselves in unimaginable conditions or in conditions that we're simply not ready for, we can crack, we can shatter. We need to remind ourselves to be delicate with ourselves, internally and externally. That life is delicate and it's fragile. And we ourselves, we are delicate and we are fragile and we are very impressionable. And our kids too. We're showing them how to be. We're also reminding them that it's okay to have some days off and some days when we're working hard. Yeah, anyways, that is all that I have for you, all beautiful ladies, for today. Looking forward to seeing some of you at the Sacred Circle tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. And the rest of you I shall see either next Monday live at 11:30 for another card reading, or tomorrow live on my personal page for story time with myself, Yana Kasperczak. Always a new story that comes to mind right before I typically go live, and that's why it's usually something interesting or entertaining, at least for me. That's it. That's all I have for you. Take it easy. Rest if today is that day that you need. That's what I will be doing today, even though there's going to be another live podcast that I'll be doing with Anna later on today at 11:30 in our new Facebook group, which is Soulful Conversations, for those women who are building their business, entrepreneurs, mompreneurs. So if that is you and you feel like you are ready to grow your business and invest in yourself, time-wise especially, then check out that group as well. But other than that, I will see you when I see you. Thank you for being on here with me. Rebecca, Laura, and there's a couple of other ladies that hopped on. And thank you for all the silent watchers as well. Let me know if you're a silent watcher as well, but just saying hey. Laura says thank you. Yana Kasperczak, have a great day, everyone. And Rebecca as well. You're welcome. It is my absolute pleasure, and thank you for being on here as well. And have an amazing the rest of your day, whatever that day looks like to you. And keeping in mind, when the weather is gloomy, we also can feel gloomy ourselves as well. That's it. Bye, everybody. Until next time.